3, 2, 1. Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's podcast, where we're going to be talking about 10 things you should know before becoming a wife. This is Sardonicast. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks, and that was a intro from popular YouTuber, classically Abby, who is Ben Shapiro's sister. Who else is here?
Yeah.
I'm youtube.com/Ralph the Movie Maker.
I'm Alex Maichi, and thanks for reminding us all of Abigail.
Oh, yeah. She's
Thank you.
she's really blowing up on the platform.
Have you watched any of her videos? She likes the traditional kind of life.
Yeah, I've dabbled. I've dabbled in the content.
Sadly, I haven't.
No. Oh, you should really you should check it out.
You should check out her singing at least.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Lots of vibrato.
Mm-hmm.
Lots and lots of vibrato. We got some movie news. Some very unfortunate movie news. Disney is closing Blue Sky Studios because they are owned by
Damn.
Fox, the studio that made such classics as Ice Age and
No more Rio?
I guess maybe also Rio too.
No
I
Rio
don't know.
sequels. No.
Well, they made Rio 2 already, didn't they?
Yes, haha. I think the Peanuts movie. Maybe I should have had this open. In the tab here. Anyway, I think this is probably not good. I don't like the idea of absorbing companies and then just shutting a bunch of things down. It's like, I guess you're allowed to if you own them. Like, that's a part of it, but I don't know. It just reminds me of like EA stuff, you know?
Yeah, a bit. I guess the difference is, though, like with EA, when they were shutting down studios, they were shutting them down when they were great producers, like the Dead Space guys,
Mhm.
you know, BioWare and everything. Here, Blue Sky Studios released, like, Ice Age, Spies in Disguise, I guess, was their last movie.
Oh, that was
Epic
them.
was a 2013 movie they released. Even I haven't seen that. Robots, 2005. It's all kind of the middling, kind of that kind of animated movie that was always shocked was able to keep being released anyway. But I guess Ice Age just made good enough money.
They made some
Ferdinand,
good
yeah.
movies over 10 years ago. they were going to make a comeback eventually, I swear. Yeah, it's not like I love them as a studio. It's not like I'm really passionate about their movies or anything. It's just, it seems weird. It seems weird to swallow up a company and then start shutting things down. Like, if the reason for shutting that down is because it's just like not super profitable or as profitable as like the blockbuster films that they would be doing in the regular 20th Century Fox stuff, then what's to stop them from shutting down, I don't know, Fox Searchlight or some shit, you know? It's like, that's just indie movies, you know?
Yeah, I guess indie movies are a bit less expensive.
Yeah, they're just like paying for licensing.
Yeah, it is concerning, but yeah, just looking at like a list of like the 20 plus movies they've released, I don't know, there's like one that I think's pretty good, that being the Charlie Brown movie.
Oh, yeah? You like that?
I mean,
I
yeah,
never saw it.
I mean, out of everything that's here, it's the only one I really, because Ice Age hasn't aged the best. Robots was, I don't know, quite irritating.
I've seen Robots and Ice Age, yeah.
Those were their
They
first
were just
two.
like those early
Like
2000s, the movies that are just memed really hard by a certain generation. That
Yeah,
grew
most
up
of their
with them.
films didn't grab me, really. I
Mhm.
wasn't that invested in them.
I liked
Ice
Rio
Age is fine for, like, kids. Rio? Yeah, I heard that was okay.
when I was younger. I don't know how it would hold
Yeah.
up at this point, but I don't have negative memories of it, at least.
The Ice Age movies are fine for, like, families.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
first couple
kinda-
were alright.
Yeah.
I liked the first Ice Age, but I hated the child, and that's about it. Otherwise, the movie is good.
Yeah, Child was annoying.
As is what happens in movies, especially movies aimed at children. Well, I guess nobody's shedding a tear for Blue Sky Studios.
Not me. you
I guess,
are the most, weirdly. I wasn't
I
expecting
mean,
that.
I like animation. I don't like
Yeah, I do
the
too,
idea
just-
of just like a bunch of people losing their jobs in a pandemic who are artists, and animators already get treated like shit, you know. I don't know. There's just a bunch of things about it that just, I don't know. Wait until after the pandemic, maybe, or try to produce a movie with this studio and see how it works under new direction before just completely deciding to abandon it or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just illogical because I'm not like a soulless business person or something. I don't know, but it just makes me feel weird.
Disney, they probably just shifted them all over onto whatever they're doing next with the Moana or whatever.
Possibly. There were like a few commenters in a Reddit thread saying that they worked there and were just fired. So I don't know if they're just fake comments or, take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me just given how animators are treated in the first place.
Yeah, I guess I'm just really jaded when it comes to just animators' perspectives in the industry in terms of they've just been screwed over for so long. Like, it's not even shocking or surprising in the slightest.
There's I mention this documentary all the time. There's like a 30-minute documentary called Life After Pi, and it was about the studio that did the animation for Life of Pi. Everybody check that out because it is really eye-opening and kind of sad just how animation is used in the film industry really exploitatively, in an exploitative way, however I'm going to phrase
Life
that.
of Pi is a really beautiful looking movie, and it won the Oscar for that. And then they shut down.
Yeah. They cut the mic at the Oscars
So
right as soon as they were talking about their company going out of business. They're like, we're facing some financial hardships, and then they just started playing the music. It was so sad. It's really disturbing. Yeah. All right. I guess we're going to talk about something more fun, I guess. Nicolas Cage is in a movie, and he didn't say a single word, and it's called Willy's Wonderland.
The Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yeah,
everybody says that. I don't know if I want to say that though, because then it implies some kind of ownership over the idea of like creepy animatronics. It implies that Five Nights at Freddy's kind of invented that. I don't know.
They know that's what people like, and they're just like marketing something similar as that, like as a product. It's a flea market version.
I don't know if it counts as spoilers. Any FNAF?
We're spoiling it.
Fans.
Spoiler warning.
Let's spoil Willy's Wonderland. Is it Willy's or Wally's? Because
Willy's Wonderland.
Okay.
Like Willy Wonka.
Yeah, on IMDb, I don't know if it's just a UK thing. It has like a different name. Like Wally's Wonder. Yeah. I didn't get why they I don't understand.
Maybe more people refer to a penis as a willy in the UK or something. And they didn't want to make it a penis movie.
That's a conspiracy. I don't know.
Fake news.
I don't know about that.
I did find the similarities between FNAF quite striking.
I'm not a huge FNAF fan, so...
Neither am I, to be honest. But I did watch the Markiplier videos, so I have like a basic knowge and a couple of like game theory. So I've got the education on this, but it's like a big thing in the FNAF lore. The Bite of 87 or whatever. That's also been memed hardcore now. The audio clip of Markiplier saying that, but there's a scene in the movie where they do like a flashback to the main animatronic, and it's like a really similar idea to the FNAF backstory.
Interesting.
Just like there were murders. I mean, isn't that every horror movie though? Like this has been done to death before Five Nights at Freddy's.
Are you arguing it's not like Five Nights at Freddy?
I'm not arguing. I'm not saying. Okay, I'm the guy. Remember the Kimbo video. I'm not saying that it is 100% not inspired by or not a ripoff. I'm saying that it is entirely possible for this film to have been conceived in the exact way it is right now without Five Nights at Freddy's ever existing. I don't consider it to be like a ripoff. At worst, it's capitalizing off of a popular trend in the same way that like a lot of vampire movies came out after Twilight. A lot of penguin movies came out after March of the Penguins. But I would never go as far to say it's like a ripoff just based off of what I know of FNAF, which isn't that much, but I've played the first two games for like, I don't know, 20 minutes each before giving up because they were stupid. And it was like the mechanics of the game were like the gameplay experience. Like if Nicolas Cage was a person in a security room checking cameras and closing doors and all that shit, then I'd be like, okay, it's obvious. But like otherwise, this just really seemed like, oh, this is like a dumb, cheesy, campy horror movie that's a lot more like other dumb, cheesy horror campy movies than it is like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just using animatronics. That's it. Like as the creepy thing. That's it. I don't know, but like, please do add to this if you're more familiar with FNAF, I guess.
I like the lore you're saying, Alex.
Thank you.
My main issue or criticism with the movie was Nicolas Cage, actually. Like,
Oh?
he wasn't in the movie enough, I thought.
Oh,
I would have
Really?
liked more of him beating the shit out of animatronics, which I thought was the fun part of the movie. Especially the first fight, the first few, were like really fun. And also, Nicolas Cage, he doesn't talk in this film at all.
yeah.
He's like a silent protagonist, which is a great reason for him to not have to memorize lines.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's really how it came across for me. Like Mandy, he was like a very quiet character in Mandy or something like that, but he still talked and
Yeah.
I still felt like he gave a
Stoic
shit.
and not
this one was
mute.
like, yeah, the whole movie it was so cheap. The whole movie felt so dirt cheap. And Nicolas Cage was just kind of phoning it in. And then like the whole, I thought it was like Five Nights at Freddy's, like just from the basic premise of it. And I'm guessing they had it as like a comparable or like, yeah, this is like a Five Nights at Freddy's movie and trying to sell it that way. They obviously had to like throw Nicolas Cage in instead of getting the brand of Five Nights at Freddy's, which was a good call. They put, I think, more money toward that. But I mean,
Yeah, it seems
was
like they were
so
trying to
similar, I thought.
because this
It's like
the
a Chuck E.
FNAF
Cheese
movie-
kind of thing. Like you take the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics and make it kind of horror themed. You know, Five Nights at Freddy's did that, and I think this does it too.
Yeah, and FNAF, the FNAF movie has been in development for ages or whatever, or been a whisper
Yeah.
in the industry for ages. And
Yeah, and it was probably never going to come out. It's like that Slender Man movie that took like 10 years to come out. It was already irrelevant. So I like that this movie just jumped on it and like made a similar premise. Like I don't know how much I would criticize it for that, but it's definitely similar. Like they just wanted to do that and they're like, "Oh, we could get Nicolas Cage?" Fuck yeah, he just fights a bunch of animatronics and that's the whole movie. Or at least the best parts of the movie is just him fighting these like did you like the designs of them as well? The weasel and like there's this fucking gorilla thing that was really funny.
I liked the animals. I wasn't as crazy about the dancer ones as much.
Yeah, because that one just looked like an actor with a helmet on or something, like a mask.
The suits were shitty. They were dumb. It was either like at any given moment, it was either like some shitty CG or maybe just CG for the eyelids,
Yeah, it was
or
terrible CG.
just some dude in a fursuit. And it never like sure they bled like oil or whatever. And so the implication is like, oh, these are all robotic animatronic things. But like even when they're not fighting him, even when they're just like doing the same motion over and over on stage pretending to be animatronics, it's just so obviously a dude in a suit. Like get somebody who's like really talented at doing the fucking robot dance or some shit. Get somebody who can actually move their body in that way to make it look like they're doing robotic movements. They just really didn't. I don't know. It wouldn't have been that hard to find somebody who has like a breakdancing background and just being like, hey, you want to wear this suit for like 20 minutes or something just for some of those shots? Like that's an easy thing they could have done to make it more believable.
That was a
and they didn't
criticism
do
I
it.
had.
That was like
all,
really
all
dumb.
of the like animatronics were just guys in suits, and there was no variety really. To
They never
like,
felt like
like
animatronics.
even like what do we don't hug me, I'm scared. There's like
Yeah.
a variety of puppets in that. There's a guy in a suit, and then there's like a hand puppet, and there's like different. Or even Sesame Street, there's hand puppets and guys in suits, and then big suits. This was all just like a guy in a suit. It was like 6 of those, and it all looked the same, and it was it got kind of boring. Except the first thing, like the animatronic had like a giant neck. And it was like flipping around, and that was like the bad CG part of it. But that was like the only
like an
creature that
ostrich.
had some variety to it, aside from just a guy in a suit.
Yeah, it felt very kind of like one trick. Like the movie only had one real joke or hook, which was just Nick Cage killing the FNAF dolls over and over again.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't really like this movie very much. I didn't have high expectations, and I don't really have the same like Nicolas Cage love boner thing that a lot of people do. So I was ready for him, and actually he was the main thing that was keeping me going. But as you said, he wasn't really in it enough or expanded on enough, or I don't know what it is with him. It doesn't carry the movie enough for me because they fall back onto this group of like other people that in typical, horror movie fashion of this kind of caliber, they're just all completely throwaway, awful dialogue, terrible performances, not invested in anything
Cliché
they do
characters.
or say. So yeah,
they're just there to get killed by the animatronics.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't really that invested in the kills or anything, or what the lore behind the whole situation. There really wasn't much that kept me going, to be honest.
That whole story was actually pretty bad. Of like it was like her stepdaughter that she found after killing. Like the sheriff would lure people into the Five Nights at Freddy's place and then kill them. The animatronics would like eat them or something. And then it happened to be this couple, and then their little girl was there, and this sheriff raised her to like, and that's like who the main character is. And now she's going back to like the Five Nights at Freddy's place. I'm like, what the fuck is this whole thing? And why is this even necessary to like, because I just want to watch Nicolas Cage fight like these animatronics.
That's
and like
so
that
funny.
character, I don't know, like there was points where she was fighting animatronics and that was fine. But like most of the characters, one of the guys was like a Viner. I don't know if you know who that was. It was it was like the white
real
guy.
Vine boy.
Yeah, and then the girl in it who plays like I
it.
guess the cliche slut kind of character in it. She's like a YouTuber. Or
Oh really?
She made like YouTube videos. Yeah,
this is making me
like
like
all
it
these
more.
like
This is
internet
hilarious.
personalities, Viners and YouTubers that were
That's
like,
interesting.
Who are all these people? And then they just get killed. Yeah, real quick.
I'm not like so much offended by this movie because it's basically just a shitpost. I think it's pretty self-aware. I think it kind of knows what it is a lot more than a bunch of other movies that like this didn't lean way too hard into like the serious emotions when it easily could have. And perhaps maybe my experience of this is a bit influenced by the fact that I watched another Nicolas Cage movie called Prisoners of the Ghostland like a week or two before this one that was so much more boring and took itself so much more seriously and was like just more pretentious and just like it was more irritating to watch than this one, and mostly just because this one was more comedic. It knew what it was. It didn't pretend to be something that it wasn't.
Yeah, I really wanted to like it because just from the premise I was into it, but I have so many criticisms with it that I actually want to make a full review of it too because I don't know, I find it interesting. But yeah, I had so many problems with it that they took me out of the movie. Mainly it looks so cheap. It was that cheap production value. The whole movie takes place in like this abandoned warehouse, and it has like a sign on the front that says whatever it's called, Willy's Wonderland. And like that's it. Like the whole movie takes place there and in the woods. And the actual like look of the film itself, I don't know, I thought it looked pretty bad. The lighting and just the way it was presented. A lot of like quick cuts. There was points where it was like a lot of flashing lights and
so
editing.
Many Dutch angles too.
Yeah, Dutch angles were bad. So I don't know. I'm more with you, Adam, where I wanted to like I thought it was fun and I really got into the fun tone, but I wish it was actually better executed.
Oh, of course.
Because
100%.
if there were these like if the fights were actually really cool, if it was better paced and more Nick Cage and less of these like dumb characters in this plot I don't give a shit about, I actually would have given it like 3.5 or something a little higher. Even though it's goofy, at least it's fun. Yeah,
that's
like
what
saying.
Keeps it as a shitpost movie is because they didn't really try.
Yeah, exactly.
The opening scene, typical horror movie sort of thing, like, okay, we're going to show some deaths at the beginning before we get the main character in here, the plot's going to roll, right? But the purpose of those scenes in a horror movie is to try and give people a taste of like what kind of danger they're to expect. In this film, it kind of removed the tension because right away before seeing anything, it's just like, oh, so this is how the action is going to be handled with a lot of quick cuts and flashy, dumb, shitty editing and like nothing really happening on screen and just cheesy bullshit with bad acting. It's like, that's where you're supposed to scare people. And so then the next the whole first act of the movie happens. There's these like quiet scenes with like Nicolas Cage doing the cleaning. You don't really know what's going to happen, but like, at that moment, it would have been so much more effective. It would have actually had some tension if they didn't ruin the experience of like all the horror in the first 5 seconds of the movie. Because now it's just like, oh, what's going to happen to Nicolas Cage. It's just going to be a bunch of dumb bullshit that's not scary. Whereas, like, if they didn't show that at the beginning, then, you know, parts of the first part of the movie would have been somewhat effective, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't seem to spend much time trying to establish a horror tone, even in any serious way. You're right. It does just feel like a shitpost. And, like, I don't know about you guys, but the whole allure of Nicolas Cage to me is often the delivery of his lines, and he has no lines. I'm not like, I don't love Nicolas Cage because of his body language and the way he's so subtle, you know? Like, so I just didn't get much out of his character. Like, the idea of him fighting these animatronics is fun, but his personality is boiled down to this, I guess, kind of autistic tic thing that he does, where he's like drinking soda and doing this routine, which is, at least that's something, I guess, but I don't know. I felt like without Nicolas Cage, you don't really have a movie here, but they didn't do anything that interesting with Nicolas Cage himself.
I think it did enough that people will, you know, people who are looking for like a dumb, fun Nicolas Cage thing, drunk movie or whatever. I think that most people will probably get something out of it if that's what they're looking for. And yeah, I agree that like line delivery is prime Nicolas Cage. I don't know. It's like there's also this element of like him just essentially being the same character in every movie. Like I'm not watching him play characters. I'm just watching Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
And then like also just I don't know. He's kind of resurging recently as like this B movie star. This is like his career now. He's not doing serious movies anymore. He's just doing like crazy horror movies and stupid shit. And so I don't know. I feel like people who already have the past 5, maybe 10 years of Nicolas Cage's repertoire in mind, they'll probably get what they expect out of this. I don't think he necessarily needs to yell in every movie, although that is a lot of fun for sure.
But yeah, I just kept thinking about Mandy and how much I would prefer to be watching that movie.
Yeah.
You know, for that kind of horror 80s vibe.
That movie was trying much more than this one was.
It's competent at what it does.
Yes, it's very confident. And I thought Nicolas Cage was actually quite good in that movie. Again, playing a similar kind of character. He is quiet in that movie, but he yells and he has moments where you're like, oh, he's actually acting. And here it was almost like he was trying too hard to be cool. And I guess I got some ironic enjoyment out of it. Like he puts on the sunglasses and walks out of the place like badass guitar music playing. But it's like, I don't take it seriously. I don't know how you could.
But I love cringe. It's like my
I do
favorite
too.
Thing.
But yeah, it's just when it comes down
to I really
like,
wanted to like Willy's
it.
Wonderland. I really wanted to. A lot of complaints.
My least favorite aspect of it would have to be the score. So there's like some diegetic music in there that's like not bad. Like the songs, like when he kicks the radio or whatever and the song starts playing, like oh, the happy birthday, like that's funny, you know, it's supposed to be bad sort of thing, and like I get it. Yeah. But then the actual score of the film, where they're using like such shitty sounding like synthesized string instruments, it like completely unironically reminds me of like the score for like a shitty television show for kids in like 2005 in Canada or something. Yeah. Like it's just they didn't try at all with the score. Like you could have found someone who could do a better job for free than whoever they found for that movie. Like holy shit, it was so bad.
Yeah, I like the Happy Birthday song though.
Yeah,
they put some work into that one.
Yeah, the writer is actually credited. I'm looking up on IMDb for parts of the songs, like those diegetic songs. I don't know if he wrote them, but he's credited with at least the lyrics, which I guess makes sense.
All right.
I'm also reading here that the film is actually based on a 2016 short film that he made called Wally's Wonderland, and they had to change the name due to rights issues. So like some sort of, I don't know, it was Wally was already
Wally
something
World?
Else. I have no
Wally
idea.
World,
it was
like a National Lampoon? Because that's what I was thinking.
Legal issues.
It does sound similar.
Willy's.
Wally's Wonderland and then Wally World.
But yeah, I mean, like 2016 short film. If we were to imagine that this is similar, the first Five Nights at Freddy's came out 2014. So it would pretty much
Mhm.
fall in line with that. And even if this film is just, based off of his short film, even if the whole movie itself isn't necessarily something that is based off of Five Nights at Freddy's, who knows? There's a good chance that that's why it was like greenlit and why people were willing to
Yeah.
produce it,
Yeah, I think that's more what I'm saying.
Okay.
They could be going for different markets too. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, I could think is geared more toward like younger, like tweens or
Yeah,
teenagers.
it's for babies.
And this is like, this is still like immature as hell, but it's like a rated R movie. It's really bloody and violent. I don't know if they could have gone that route if it was based on like that IP. And I'm glad it's like a goofy, bloody horror movie.
Yeah,
it's
People
so
that
stupid.
kill
Age appeal.
like animatronics. Yeah, it's funny.
I would love this movie if I were like 13. It'd be a good 13 movie,
Yeah, I probably would.
It had a $5
It would
million
be the best
budget.
movie I've ever seen. Maybe it's my best. It's the best movie of the year.
How much
That's
of
what
that
I would
5
think.
million went straight to Cage's pocket? Do you
I
think?
don't know how much it
Half.
costs to get him. I'm not willing to say that he was paid $1 million or more on this film. That's probably why also they half of the movie wasn't him and just like the kids, They probably
Yeah,
filmed
too.
his. He didn't have to memorize any lines. Like it was
No.
very limited
He just
location.
had to show up.
He probably got all of his scenes done in like 2 or 3 days. Like they probably didn't have to pay him like that much, considering like what he did in the movie. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Like
what
a
I mean.
week.
He didn't really do anything.
I wonder.
He fought some animatronics. Like that part was cool.
I wonder if it was above or below $1 million for this movie. I wonder. I want to know how much it costs to like get Nicolas Cage in your movie in the lead role, because he does a lot of those. His IMDb is like there's like 6 movies a year at least,
Oh, it's packed.
of him just being the
He
lead
does so
role in
many.
some shitty horror movie that took him like a week to film. And I mean, he's finding success at it, which is really good. His name is still popular. He's still a name actor.
There's a market. I mean, I love it. I love this shit.
Always Nicolas Cage stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
Fucking Adam Wingard is going to be directing a Face-Off movie.
Like a
Ugh.
sequel?
Apparently,
Yeah,
according
I
to
heard
his
about that.
Instagram or something, it's a sequel. I
It's
don't
like
know if
a
Nick Cage will be in it.
reimagining of Face Off. I like the original Face Off. I watched
Oh yeah,
it
it's
recently.
hilarious.
Yeah,
It's very
really
funny, yeah.
John Woo, like
Mm-hmm.
goofy action.
Fuck, he's going to be in the untitled Joe Exotic project as Joe Exotic. I forgot about that. They're doing like a fucking recreation
Tiger
of
King,
like Tiger King shit. That's so funny. Damn.
Quite good casting, actually.
Oh yeah, he was in Spider-Verse.
Yeah, he's
Damn.
a
Yeah.
noir Spider-Man. I was
Yeah.
gonna mention. Yeah, he's done a lot of good roles recently.
Yeah, his
Wasn't he
career's
Superman
like back up.
in, I think the Lego Movie or something, like something like that.
Oh, yeah, because he was supposed to be...
So
Who was making that Superman movie? Was it Tim Burton or something weird like that?
yeah, he wanted to play
Timmy
Superman.
B.
Nicolas Cage. This was
Yeah.
a while ago. I think he's a little
Yeah,
too
in the
old now.
90s or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is anything else we want to say about this movie? I've got one other note.
No, I'd like to
mention.
review it like in full. It's because I have I don't know. I have a lot to say about Willy's Wonderland or the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. I thought it was solid for like what it is. I definitely don't regret watching it, but I think it could have been better. I
Mhm.
think it could have had more Nick Cage fighting even more animatronics. It could have really. I felt like the movie kind of peaked in the first 20 minutes as well in terms of all the fighting. Like there's a really a large large gap of this movie where there's no like awesome battles or anything.
Mhm.
They're just like setting up characters and Nicolas Cage walking around, and it's oh god, it's fucking boring. Overall, I don't know, 2.5, 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
If that's what, yeah, I think I'd go like around there. I originally gave it 1.5, but I'm like, it's a little. It was fucking fine. It was like
Mhm.
entertaining at least. Yeah, but I don't know. That's probably just more my guilty pleasure, like giving it a higher rating than like the actual objective quality of the movie. It's actually pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Well, if you
actually
wanna watch it,
my
watch it. I
exact
don't know.
rating.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 1.5. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
1.5.
trying to do a few different things, I guess, but I just wish it would have dedicated itself to actually just trying to commit to one and try to make a good movie instead of like a shitpost. You have the the ideas all set out with all the costumes and everything. You could have at least tried to make it at least a little bit horrific in some way, or on the opposite end, if you want it to be more of a goofy 80s comedy thing, have better jokes, have better presentation or something.
Man.
It needed something to carry it, and the only thing they really had was a silent Nicolas Cage, which just ain't enough for me. So yeah, 1.5 stars.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. If they would have had like an 80s style soundtrack, like 80s throwback or something, like fucking
Yeah,
It Follows,
preferred
or
that.
I guess what's that Adam Wingard movie, The Guest or something? If they would have done that,
Maybe not
then
The Guest.
the movie would have been so much better just from the soundtrack alone. I didn't find any of the fight scenes really to be like great or epic, so I don't know. What I
Yeah,
was getting out of
same.
the movie was just the dumb shit post thing. That's what I got out of it. That's what I was expecting. That's what I was essentially looking for. I would have loved something that would have tried, don't get me wrong. And once again, it was a refreshing experience because I had recently watched Prisoners of the Ghostland, which there are people mad at me for not liking because they're stans of the director, even though they haven't seen the movie because it was a Sundance thing and it's not like publicly released yet. One of those, I guess. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah, you should lie.
I'm probably 4.5, 5. I'm leaving it a 5 for now. I don't really feel bad about it. It wasn't a waste of time. There was a lot of stupid shit, but everything that was stupid in the movie I found to be more funny than frustrating, and that's what really helped my experience. Like, it's like the tallest air vent in the world. I'm like, haha, that's stupid. These kids are
that
just
was
fucking going
hilarious.
in. Like, we gotta go in there one at
it
a
was
time. I'm like, this is
huge.
fucking dumb. Like, it doesn't care, so I don't care. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it was a movie. Probably never see it again. If if you want to see
Definitely.
something like that, then go watch it.
The large air vent was really funny. That
It was so
funny.
stupid.
If you want a better version of this kind of movie, watch Mandy. That's like this.
Yeah.
They're
but
so
better
different, though.
cinematography and better. Well, they're both like B movies, but I'd say Mandy's a bit more artful and actually like
Much more.
entertaining. Yeah, the music's really good in that film.
Mandy is like an art piece that is pretending to be a B movie. You know?
Kind of. Yeah, perhaps.
It's like the B movie elements in Mandy are so intentional that it's weird to call it a B movie. You know?
the director has a really weird name in that,
Yeah.
that film. If he had like made this with that same style, I feel I would have really liked it.
If he had made this with his same style, it would have been much more slower. He needs to understand. That's my one criticism with that director. The same thing with his previous film, Beyond the Black Rainbow. It's like, fuck, I love what you're doing visually and like the aesthetic and everything, but like the pacing is like there are huge chunks of the movie that are really slow. That was like my one criticism with both of his movies. Anyway, Ralph and I saw a film from Sam Levinson, who is responsible for HBO's Euphoria, which I've seen every episode of now, and I really love.
Mm-hmm.
He directed a movie called Malcolm and Marie, starring John David Washington and Zendaya.
Zendaya.
One word, Zendaya or Zendaya? I have no idea. I always say Beyonce instead of
think
Beyonce.
Zendaya.
I have no fucking clue. You should have two names.
I pronounced Luca's name wrong.
Oh,
From last episode.
please
Wait,
help.
I'm gonna
Please help me.
wait.
I've been trying to figure this one out for so long.
Luca Guadagnino.
Guadagnino?
Guadagnino. Luca Guadagnino.
This sounds no different than last time you said it, though. I can't tell the
Guadagnino.
difference.
Guadagnino.
Yeah, I ain't going near that one.
All right.
I said it wrong.
I'll just
I
next
wanted to
time I do a
apologize for that.
review, I'll just take the audio. Can you just do a clean take and then I'll just splice it in? All right, I'll be silent now. Do a clean take here.
Luca Guadagnino.
Okay, I'll use that.
Guadagnino.
All right, perfect. Okay, yeah, it was a movie, and a lot of people watched it because of the actors in it. And also, it was
Yeah,
on
was it?
Netflix. That's also another big reason why a lot of people watched it. Not sure if everybody who watched it is like familiar with, I guess, the writer-director, because there's a lot of passionate response to this movie. And although I understand where people are coming from, I don't understand the people who are acting like this movie ruined their fucking life or something. What did you think, Ralph?
It's a very divisive movie, I guess, because what they talk about. There's a large section of the movie they're just talking about like critics and like complaining about the reviews or whatever. I'm like, okay. And then at the end of the movie, I just gave it 3 stars. I'm like, I didn't give a fuck.
Oh yeah, 3 out of 5.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I thought John David Washington's a pretty good actor, and Zendaya I thought was she was a bit inconsistent, but for the most part she was okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think people criticize the movie for like the director's ramblings. It's basically just like a movie about 2 people arguing in their large mansion, or I guess it's a rental home, right? Like the studio gave it to them.
Sure. Did you feel that way consistently throughout the entire movie, or were you into it at first and then it dropped off, or like?
Well, I'd say like the first 20 minutes I was into it and I was waiting for it to go somewhere. But then the whole film is just a fucking argument. And it's not like the before sunrise, before sunset, before midnight movies where you like get to really know the characters and then they have conflict and argue. Here it's just like right off the bat they're actually kind of unlikable because he just won, or he just like had a great premiere and he's just like fucking bitching, and then she starts arguing and it's like, oh my god, this is just so obnoxious, the whole fucking film. But it was actually pretty well done technically, and I think maybe I would give it more points for that. But I don't know how you felt about those 2 main characters, but I grew to find them unlikable as the movie went along, and that kind of took me out of it.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah, I was into it, I guess, at first, but then they were so unlikable. It just kept going on for so long, the fucking arguing.
Yeah, I would say that's its biggest problem by the end of it, is that like it turns into something that's like unrelatable. So it's an hour and 46 minutes long, and I was totally fucking into it. I feel like I was getting generally what the movie wanted me to for the first hour and 10 minutes. And then somewhere between the hour and 10 minute to hour and 15 minute mark is when it wasn't just like one event, but it was like everything felt up until that point like a logical building off of each other's response sort of conversation. And it felt like things were kind of like in a spot where they could conclude. And then it kept going, but it's not the fact that it kept going. It kept going in a way that seemed very unnatural. Like obviously the goal of the film is to keep it going, but that's not what I should be seeing in that moment. I should be seeing the characters, and just somewhere along the line it got lost, and it was very unfortunate because I was pretty into it for the first hour and 10 minutes. It's well shot. I don't understand why it's in black and white, but that's okay, I guess. It's very theatrical, and I was going into this fully expecting the whole movie to just be a conversation between 2 people. Like, I knew that that's what it was before going into it, and perhaps that made my experience better. What's weird about it is I liked Zendaya, I don't know. I liked her a lot more before coming into this movie, and I liked John David Washington a lot less. But in this movie, it's the complete opposite. I thought that he did a really great job, and she was pretty inconsistent, like you said. I don't feel like she matched her character all that great. She's amazing in Euphoria. I love her in Euphoria. And then John David Washington was just like so fucking bland and lifeless in Tenet that I just couldn't imagine him doing something that I liked. And then he was actually pretty good in this.
Yeah, I like his character a lot in this. Well,
it was believable.
I like his performance.
He fit it.
Yeah, he's very believable.
Yeah.
Zendaya there was points where she was supposed to be really emotionally distraught, and I just didn't really believe she was that upset. Like, she seemed upset, but it was more like annoyed rather than really like fucking pissed off or, upset.
Yeah, even in the moments that I liked, there were weird moments like that. Like, even in the whole first hour and 10 minutes, there are some shots and, moments where like, I'm not really buying you, Zendaya. Like, that whole lip quivering in the bathtub thing just felt like a little strange. I don't know, a little off. I don't know if it was her fault. I don't know if it was the writing or directing, like, it's all up in the air, I guess, in that way. But like, there was a lot of good, compelling, interesting dialogue for me. in the first hour and 10 minutes. After that, not so
Yes.
much.
I thought the film kind of ended a little weak as well.
Yeah, that
Like
exactly
how it
yeah.
wrapped up. Mm-hmm.
For that last half hour of the movie, I just felt like really frustrated and impatient. I was like, just fucking end. You know, I was like, just get on with it, because it didn't really feel like anything was progressing from that point. It was just like, oh, just like we've been over this. Like nothing you're saying matters right now. It just like I stopped caring about everything that was going on and just kind of like tuned everything out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like I don't know if I perhaps this movie could have been saved by finding a way to end it at the hour and 15-minute mark instead of taking an hour and 46 minutes. It's like you could have trimmed down this movie by half an hour and it probably would have been much better. And especially if it just had a better ending in general.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a really stupid ending. It was just, I literally said, "Ah, fuck off." When it happened.
That's how I felt. I didn't
Yeah.
say it.
It's hard for me to control. It's why I didn't watch The Lion King in theaters.
For the
Lion
most
King
part, I like the
2019.
dialogue. There was some of the dialogue that's obviously the main character's a writer-director that felt like the ramblings of the director, writer of this film, Sam
Yes.
Levinson.
But there are a lot of great movies that do that too.
Yeah, but this one
Adaptation,
is just like,
You know,
it's a bit more subtle, yeah. This one's like he's talking about the critics, White Lady from New York Times, Mel Gaze. I'm like, oh, okay. I get it.
well, but I mean, like, yeah, the character is like a writer director, and obviously, yes, that's like the Sam Levinson in many ways projecting himself onto the characters. But I don't know if we're gonna get like really philosophical. It's like there's not a single character that you can write that isn't some sort of projection of some part of yourself. Like, I get it. I get the criticism. Like, you don't want it to be obvious and blatant. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with deciding to do that. I would be more offended by that if this was his first film and I hadn't seen any evidence that he can do different things. And obviously, like, even in Euphoria, like, Rue is an extension of himself. He, had issues with drugs in his past and put that onto the character. And, a lot of his experiences are shared with that character. But the character isn't like a writer-director sort of thing. And I think that that's something that irritates people a lot, is when it's like, ooh, there's this like implied level of pretentious, of like condescension, of like, I know better than you in the character. And I think that's what kind of turns people off. I don't think that it's like an inherently bad or incorrect thing to do, I guess. I didn't mind what he had to say. I kind of found it amusing what he was saying about like, what was it, the New York Times article or whatever he read. That part was pretty funny. I liked that part. It was amusing.
Yeah, I see it from his other movie, like Assassination Nation too. It feels like the same director. That movie's like about
Yeah, that's the
like
only one I haven't seen.
diverse cast. They all shoot guns. It's about social media.
It looked
you know.
stupid.
The tagline's
never
"You
saw
asked for it, America." It's so
Yeah.
so it's that kind of movie. And this is like the same director. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's kind of putting that same. I just want more subtlety. That's all. I understand this is his shtick.
Sure,
And,
yeah.
that's great. I just want more subtlety.
That
Because I really, there were points in the film that I really liked it. Even if I didn't like the characters, I thought it was well shot and like interesting and good use of I think score, music. I like the opening
music a
of
lot,
the film
yeah.
a lot. Yeah, where it's like John David Washington just kind of walking around his house and they're, he's celebrating, dancing to the music. I thought all that was really well done.
biting her butt,
Yeah, that was good.
mac and cheese.
Biting Zendaya's butt. The mac
Title
and
drop.
cheese thing was funny.
Yeah.
And then when he starts eating the mac and cheese and like continuing the argument,
Yeah.
like, you're actually delusional. And he's like, chomping down. That was actually really funny. I enjoyed that
You
part.
going back for another bowl? Are you seriously arguing with me, or you have mac and cheese? Like, there's parts of this that I really like. There's tons of dialogue in this that I thought was like not just relatable, but like just well written. I love the line when they say like SPF 50 brigade instead of just white people. I love that. That's like such a clever, funny way of using that in your dialogue. And I do think that Sam Levinson is a really good writer, and I love Euphoria, and really impressed with like the two new non-season kind of like bonus episode things that are so much more like restrained and held back and like less flashy and just more like dialogue focused. Like those hour-long episodes of Euphoria, those like two new ones that are like after season 1 but like not technically in a season. Yeah, they're so good. But like those are essentially the same format. They're just like two-person conversations the entire episode, but it works so much better in those. Maybe because, like, there's a wealth of information about these characters and context before we get there, and the conversations feel so much more justified, and it feels like by the end of the episode, things have been, progressing. Like, there's, like, the conversation itself was necessary. But also just because, like, I don't know, it's like an hour long. You're not trying to force it out into, like, an hour and 45 minutes. I feel like that's one of the biggest issues with this film, is that it's, like, a feature-length movie by quite a bit, and it definitely did not need to be. And so it's just I just got impatient by the end of it. I got impatient and frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, like, when you cast Zendaya in a movie and put it on Netflix, and I guess to some extent John David Washington, but more so Zendaya, you're kind of asking for the same audience reception as Darren Aronofsky putting Jennifer Lawrence in his film Mother, you know? Like, you're kind of asking for people to hate it if you're doing a fucking art piece movie and you're doing the black and white and it's just two people talking. Like, that's not, I don't know if that's necessarily the same crowd.
Well, it's a bit like with Marriage Story too, where
exactly
just having those actors just broadens the audience, so the people who are going to see it usually wouldn't bother with those kind of art movies.
Yeah, there were many points during Malcolm and Marie where I was thinking, damn, I wish I was watching Marriage Story, especially near the end.
Right.
That got really accentuated as the film went on.
I wish I was watching Before Midnight. That's what I thought.
Yeah. We should talk about the trilogy someday.
Yeah, that's a good trilogy.
It's a great trilogy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, love the music and
yeah.
Pretty much.
You gonna check this out, Alex?
I don't know. I was kind of waiting for your conversation to decide whether I should check this out or not.
Just shut it off at hour and 15-minute mark.
Yeah, I might actually do that because I do like Euphoria a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing the premise and how long it is, that's really what put me off, kind of jumping in earlier. But
yeah,
maybe I'll watch
just
for an hour
watch
and 10
it.
or
If you
something.
get bored with it, just go to sleep.
Yeah, skip
wake
to
up
the
when it gets interesting again.
end of the movie, and then say fuck off," whether in your head or out loud, and then be done with it. Yeah. What's weird is, like, I feel like
3 out of
my
5, I don't
emotional experience watching the film, talking about it, I feel like I'm being a bit more charitable than you, Ralph, but I feel like my rating's lower. I gave it a 5 out of 10. You said 6, as in 3 stars out of 5?
Yeah, I gave it 3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10. Yeah.
I'm comfortable with my 5 out of 10. I think that's about right. Somebody who fucking watched my Prisoners of the Ghostland review commented saying, "You gave this pretentious piece of shit a 5 and Prisoners of the Ghostland a 4. I'm so convinced that this person still hasn't seen the movie, but like, there are so many people that are like, they treat Malcolm and Marie as though it like killed their dog or something. Like, I don't understand why people are angry about it. Like, I get not liking a movie. I get being like, this is boring. I was frustrated by it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm like that way with The Lion King 2019, but I can fill up a 4-hour video justifying it, at least. I don't know if these people can with Malcolm and Marie. It was a movie. And I guess it's time to talk about Alex's
It's time, is it?
recommendation. It's
But
time. Spoiler discussion for Baahubali, the beginning.
Yes. Spoilers for Baahubali, the beginning. The 2015 film directed by S.S. Rajamouli.
By a boat? Sorry.
Yeah, I guess that... that didn't twig. Yeah, I've actually been dreading trying to explain what the plot of this movie is.
Okay. Whose fault is that?
That's
It's
fine.
definitely my fault. I wasn't anticipating. This was a bit of an experiment for me. I'm not that familiar with Bollywood and the kind of films that come out here, but I did stumble
Baahubali
across this alluring film. Yeah, Baahubali. Baahubali, the beginning. Seeing that poster with the hand erupting out of the water, holding the baby. Something about that imagery had me interested, so I got involved, started looking around, saw it's a 2-part epic based on like ancient India and a bunch of different kind of mythic inspirations, and it's this action love story drama epic where the first couple hours building up the main character and his brother, and then the last hour is like a big fight, and interspersed between these scenes of character development are random dance numbers and singing and a lot of corny, over the top craziness. Yeah, it's nearly 3 hours long, and I wasn't sure how much of that was due to the kind of Bollywoodisms or not. And then, yeah, I was kind of hoping they were going to break out of that restriction for this movie and have it be more of a standard epic. But of course,
okay,
it's silly of me to expect.
I don't know. I don't think every movie that comes out of India is considered Bollywood, though. I don't think this is a Bollywood movie.
Well, yeah, this is what is so confusing about all of this. Like, if you go on Netflix and search Baahubali, there are like 20 results that come up.
Yeah.
There's all these different versions. It was shot in 2 different versions. I watched the Tamil version.
Okay.
I don't know what guys you went with.
It's a whole story to get into that.
It's a rabbit hole in and of itself before you can even get into the movie.
Yeah. So there's just so many different dubs, and some of them are like different lengths. So that's weird.
I didn't understand. Yeah, one was nearly 2 hours, and the other ones are like 3 hours.
Anyway, one of my commenters in Twitch chat, I guess, led me astray into thinking that I had to watch the Telugu version, even though the Tamil version is probably the most like OG or something. Because like apparently it was filmed in Tamil and Telugu simultaneously, so no matter which version of the two you're watching, some characters are going to be dubbed and some aren't. so like the people at the beginning of the movie are like Tamil, and then the main character is like Telugu, but the real OG version is Tamil anyway. And I guess just like Indian film culture just doesn't give a shit about things being dubbed as much. Like it's just like a thing that nobody cares about, and that's fine. I find it a bit distracting, but I guess I was reading the subtitles the whole time anyway, so it didn't really fucking matter. Yeah, the Telugu version was very, very hard to find. Wound up watching the Tamil version, and by that point, I didn't give a shit anyway. I could have watched any of the versions because I was just so frustrated with having to put in so much of an effort to even start watching the movie in the first place. But yeah.
As of 2015, it was one of the most expensive movies to come out of India, with a budget of roughly 20 million. How do you guys think that 20 million was kind of spent on the movie? Because I didn't look up a budget before watching it, so I was quite curious, knowing that it's like a big epic with these huge fight scenes and stuff.
It looks pretty epic for a $20 million movie.
I would give it to them, man. They managed to do something with that, with the size and scale of the movie
is ridiculous.
It's so like bloated in terms of just how much stuff that's in there. Yeah, when you do get to the action, it's like, oh, this is actually kind of a payoff, kind of fun. I liked the handheld like sword fighting stuff and just the choreography of it. I really enjoyed that side of it.
They're so like hyper, I don't know, almost hyper masculine, and then there's these like love scenes like early on. They're like fucking so stupid. Well, like when he's making love to the woman. It's like, oh my god, it's so.
Yeah, you quickly learn that just randomly, like a bunch of women are gonna appear and then start singing. Like my favorite one from this movie is where they're like celebrating after some kind of win, and then this like coiled up rope comes down, and then the coil falls, and there are like 3 women that were underneath the coiled rope, and then they just start singing and dancing. And
that was my favorite
extravagant
dance choreography in the movie.
Yeah,
was the rope choreography. Yeah. It was the most interesting.
I thought the effects were all right, like for considering, especially that budget. I thought it looked pretty good.
For the budget, yeah, it's great. I don't think they look great though. For the budget, it's for how
Bollywood
much is in the movie
either.
for 20 million. It's like, okay, I gotta give him some credit here.
Yeah, definitely. A very ambitious film.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot to dissect, and I don't know. I had a hard time following it, but I watched the Tamil version. There's like I think like 4 versions on Netflix, but they're easy to access. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Which one did you watch, Adam? The Tamil one or the?
I think we all watched Tamil.
You did.
Okay, so there was a version on. So I watched the Tamil Netflix version. In my attempt to find the Telugu version, I was directed to a YouTube link that said that it was the Telugu version. It also said it was in 4K, but it was just 720p. And then the title card at the beginning, which I guess is a requirement for all movies in India by the government, the title card thing at the beginning, certification, literally said that it was the Hindi dub, and I'm like, okay, I guess they lied about that too in this fucking YouTube title. I watched the first 48 minutes of the Tamil version, and then decided that there's no fucking way I could continue watching the movie unless it was in 2 times speed. So then I watched from that point on in the Hindi version, but claimed to be the Telugu version, but I think was actually the Hindi version. And it was so much better in 2 times speed. It saved the movie for me. Like I was actually engaged in it. I was paying attention. It was fun. It was like unique and interesting. It was like you know how when we had to watch the prequels, I turned on the fucking described video for the visually input. It was one of those where it's like I got to do this or else I'm like I'm not paying attention anyway. Like I can't. This is the only way I can watch the movie, and I'm not just gonna stop watching the movie. It's for the podcast, so I had to MacGyver my way into finishing it, basically. But it was it was an improved experience. I watched the ideal version, the superior 2 times speed YouTube version.
So Tamil version, like all these different versions, is just like is the dub is different and that's it. Or are they
except like 20 minutes of footage, apparently.
Yeah, they're like re-editing the movie too for these different. Like I don't even understand what they're doing because the English one is super. It's the shortest one. They probably think
just
Americans
an international
have a
cut or something.
short
I don't
attention span. I don't know. It's
the singing version, strange. Maybe. I don't know.
Did you guys watch the second one?
Nope.
No, I didn't jump into part 2.
Did you really?
I skipped through it. I skipped through parts of it.
No.
Okay.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So I was wondering if one of you was.
Yeah, there are points in this movie I nodded off, and I just didn't even pay attention.
Oh, you should have watched the good version. You should have watched the 2 times speed version.
I might watch the sequel on 2 times.
Oh, dude, it's so much better. Trust me. The action scenes are so much more fun. Oh, everything about it. If you can like read subtitles fast, like I can, then it's just fucking do it. It's legitimately just so much better. As soon as I started watching it, I'm like, I can't believe I honestly tried to watch this movie in 1 time speed, because that is just clearly the wrong version of the movie.
Yeah, for me, I was
good history.
I was quite confused by the sort of the story structure because I wanted to obviously love this movie, but I wasn't finding anything to really get too attached to or interested in until the last hour, where they kind of establish an enemy force and then like a strategy of how they're going to fight them, and that's like something going on. And then you have Baahubali's like brother like trying to betray him with the rope, and him like jumping off the cliff and trusting him to hold him and yank him back up. Just as they start putting that stuff out, then the movie ends. So you spend like 2 hours like flailing, just doing this like seemingly random stuff, or just like so much of the film for me was just spent trying to figure out like how much of this is like intentionally corny. You know, him like sneaking underwater and like tattooing the woman when she doesn't notice and stuff. There's weird little quirks and details that like I don't really know how to interpret, because like this is a universe where they do just randomly start dancing and singing, and the way they celebrate things is just inherently different. The culture's different, so figuring that out is it's half fun, half frustrating, depending on what you get out of it. Because I was watching this with someone who was just loving the color and motion of it, but I don't know how far that can take it when it is so bloody long.
Mm-hmm.
and the story's kind of all over the place. For what I'm looking for is a Westerner in my stories.
Yep. It kind of loses its novelty after a bit, especially if you're just not surprised by anything that's in it. And I don't know, my experience was like, yep, this is a movie that came from India. I didn't feel like I was watching anything new until I started watching the 2x speed version. Then I was like, okay, this is like a legitimately unique experience. So I was able to enjoy it.
So I was liking that. I was really enjoying the wacky action. Like I liked Baahubali coming up with the idea of shooting the sheets over the army because they've got these like useless catapults, and he outsmarts the army and beats them with his head, even though his name like literally means something like the one with strong arms. So I like little details like that. I don't know. The action was what kept me going. Like when the villain is like throwing tens of people around the screen and stuff, and it's not like Sharknado levels or that kind of asylum CG that's so bad, so appalling. Like, what's even the point of commenting on it? Kind of level. There seemed to be like real passion for this story, and everyone was so enthusiastic and keen. And Baahubali himself, I mean, that guy he really carried it for me. He has so much energy, so much charisma.
Sorry, I was my exasperated sigh. There's another Indian movie that I saw parts of called Alluda, Alluda space Majaka, Alluda Majaka, and so I was actually just looking up clips of this to talk about another thing in Baahubali was the CGI title at the bottom left corner.
Yes.
To let people know that animals are not being harmed. And this other movie, I think 80s or 90s, I'll have to look up the exact year, but oh boy, the most memorable parts about these movies is that it's really obvious that they just fucking killed a bunch of horses in this movie, and it's really sad. Yeah, this is not CGI. It's another Indian movie. Oh boy.
Oh no.
1995. Wow, that's not that long ago. Yeah, the whole like opening fight scene. It's just like the beginning of. I guess I won't say. It might be a spoiler. There's like another movie I'm thinking of where they use a CGI horse where it's like they like basically clothesline it and trip it. It's just like, well, they're just doing that for real for the movie. So like 5 horses here. Because if I hadn't seen something like Alluda Majaka or whatever, if I hadn't seen that, my first assumption would be for Baahubali that it was like, oh, like a cultural thing. They respect animals more sort of thing. Or maybe it's just there's been a cultural shift in the past 25 years or something. I don't know. But either way, it was pretty funny seeing that title on the screen every time there was like a CG animal, but not CG other things. So like when the horse rode through the flaming bales of hay, there was no CGI title because the horse wasn't CG, but the bales of hay were. So
yeah, I was super confused by that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I can see it's CG. It's pretty obvious.
I think it's like if the animal itself is CG. But then there were some shots where it's like it was there, but I'm not even convinced that was it said that for like a shot of just a horse's legs as it was like kind of just walking to the side a bit, and it was like CGI. It's like it doesn't look CG, and no one's being harmed in this shot anyway. That was weird. And then you see like, I don't know, them fucking snowboarding, sledding down a fucking gigantic mountain with an avalanche, and there's like no CGI label. It's like, I guess this was real. I think it's just for the animals. I don't know.
Yeah, it's movies like this are basically carried by the humor and just the cultural disconnect and all the stuff that's lost in translation. Because like when you follow along with like what some of the songs are, because it's basically a musical. There are so many songs that are spliced in the story, and you're watching the subs and reading through the actual lyrics of the song, and they tend to be so vague and broad. I wasn't really sure how it was enhancing the film in any way. I don't know. Maybe I need to open my mind more to this kind of loose way of telling stories, but there is some stuff I do like about it. I think there is like hidden in it. You could edit like a pretty entertaining like 90-minute movie out of this, I think, easily, and have just hit the beats you'd expect a bit quicker, dilly-dally a bit less. You know, just not... It doesn't have to be 3 hours long, I'm sorry. That's probably my biggest problem with it. Like, it is that you're asking a lot.
You only
to
watched
sit there
half
for...
of the whole story.
Well, yeah, that's the even more shocking thing. And yeah, when I was skipping through the second one on Netflix, having a look, and it does seem very similar in terms of the way it's all put together and structured and everything. So I don't really see the runtime thing. It just aside from a lot of movies from India are just quite long. It seems to be.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, different cultures of people have different expectations and different things that they want out of movies. Like the gigantic movies in China are very different than like something that would be like super popular in the United States.
Like Shaolin Soccer and
Shaolin Soccer,
Kung Fu Hustle, right? Yeah, but those are like really goofy. Like that's the kind of movie that's huge and goes worldwide, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, is really internationally successful.
Mm-hmm.
This movie had a lot of musical numbers, and I don't know. It's not a. I don't like the musical numbers.
It's a thing for India.
It's not
that's what they want.
I know. It's just a Bollywood thing. I don't find them very memorable or interesting. I don't know. That's just my opinion of all these. It's always the least interesting parts, like. And maybe they're just trying to make movies for everybody, but it's just like, you know, you go from musical numbers to like scenes of comedy to like these really violent action sequences that are fucking really intense.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on the idea that like you can't do something like that, though. I don't think that the idea itself is inherently a bad idea. I think
that's
that,
inherently
like,
part of the Bollywood experience.
Yeah,
so
it's inherently a part of that experience. But I don't think that in of itself is bad. I just don't think that like the movies themselves are super, super well made. For $20 million,
I thought this one was. Yeah, I thought this one looked really good considering $20 million. I thought it cost more.
That budget.
Yeah, it's not Blade Runner 2049.
True. Are there any Indian movies that either of you enjoy?
God, I can't say Slumdog Millionaire.
Nothing's really. Yeah.
Because I would like to get to that point, and apparently, the Apu trilogy on Criterion is supposed to be really great.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
Good.
And I kind of wanted to recommend it, but it's like a trilogy, and people were saying like the third one's the best, but you need the context of the first two movies, and it's like, shit, it's kind of a bit of a commitment, you know? So I have them. I'm just like waiting for a good point to watch them. Right. Probably would have watched them right after Baahubali, but there were like 3 other movies that came out on the weekend that I had to watch. So
I would actually like to. I was thinking of watching that like in my own time, getting it.
Yeah.
But I do kind of want to watch it now.
Yeah. I want to watch the Apu trilogy as a fuck you to Baahubali.
Not as a fuck you, as a thank you to Baahubali.
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's a lot of Lord of the Rings in it.
It did seem very inspired by Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, shots like the temple kind of reminded me of like, well, the CGI shots reminded me like the sweeping shots of like the tower. You know, or like the orcs. Yeah, there was like similar things like that. The battle scene reminded me of like Battle of the Five Armies, like the Hobbit. Just like the length of it and like the amount of CGI. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, I would love it more if it was a bit more self-aware. Like, yeah, it's goofy, and yeah, to some extent, it knows what it is and just doesn't care. But, like, I would rather have something that's more of a shitpost in that sense, instead of something that's, like, also trying to be super serious, you know? That's trying to hit, like, every single tone and emotion with the same film.
Yeah, I guess that's my frustration. Because give me the mythic, like epic myth and take it a bit more seriously, or trim it down a bit, embrace the silliness, and just have the fun without even worrying about the rest of it.
Just a
I'm
shorter
trying to look
movie
up how
in
much it
general.
made. Like, was this a hugely successful film?
Yeah, I think it was
probably.
Yeah, it became the first South Indian film to gross 3 billion RS, which is $42 million worldwide, reaching there in 9 days. And
Okay.
Subsequently grossed 4.1 billion RS, so 56 million. So it's definitely
And the
made its
second
money.
one made even more.
Because there's a lot of people, when I searched up the Baahubali Bollywood thing to try and see like if there's a distinction, there's like people online saying like Baahubali could never come from Bollywood because it's supposed to be like, I don't know, from what I heard, it's almost like a response to Bollywood in some ways, but it's like I don't see that much of a distinction in my opinion. I guess maybe I'm just like, a part of a different culture. I'm not like, super familiar with it.
Bollywood,
I just watched it. I'm like, yep, this is a movie from India. That's basically what I got out of it.
Really? So you read that it's like interpreted that way?
Well, let me
bit
bring
of
up
a
my Google again.
response.
Hold on. I closed the tab. The Indian Express. Bollywood can never make Baahubali. These 5 reasons explain why. Baahubali 2 has attained the position of India's biggest film, but not only in terms of budget and grandeur, but also in box office. The film has crossed Rs 100 crore in India on its opening day. Can Bollywood ever make a film of this standard? Let's see if I can get the 5 reasons. Number 1, Bollywood won't spend that amount of money on a franchise. Number 2, Bollywood actors cannot give 5 years of their life to one project. Number 3, Bollywood can't have such strong female characters even in their women-centric films. Number 4, Bollywood gives a little less screen time importance to its supporting cast. And number 5, Bollywood cannot market the film as massively as Baahubali 2. So, yeah, there are some differences, supposedly. Maybe if I were more familiar with... Maybe if I was like an expert on all Indian movies, then those things would have stuck out to me. I'm sure people living in India are more familiar with the differences between these things. But yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe not so much a response to it, but just doing something in a different way that's like apparently really successful, kind of breaking the rules a bit is what it seems like, but just not enough, not in ways that are important to me or that I would have noticed. So it didn't affect my experience, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite the breakout. Yes, everyone in the West will enjoy this movie the same way.
Yeah, it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
There were points it looked like a shampoo commercial.
Oh.
I don't know.
And I swear the color grading was quite odd, the way it was kind of shifting. I don't know if that... I was half expecting that to be something that was going over my head, like it was like showing different time periods, or we're changing the color gradient for a reason. But I don't know if that was just missed or something. It was like randomly it would be like really cool kind of colors and then shift to being kind of warm and intense. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the novelty of it just wears off really quickly. The opening was funny in ways that I don't know if it was trying to be or not. It's just like, save the child, as it's like being held up. Like, I don't know how much time has passed. She's just a dead body, kind of not really underneath, like holding up this child. And they're like, let's save the baby. And they don't even like think to grab her. Like they see an arm sticking out of the fucking water. He just kind of walks over too. That's really weird. She should be able to just stand up.
That was the scene.
That was so weird.
It kind of just... Yeah, it was after that scene where I just sat back and was like, I'm just going to let whatever this film has for me just deliver it upon me, because...
That's part of the problem.
I just don't know what the rules or logic are. Yeah,
when
I'm
I don't
with you.
care, when I'm like, there's no point in me asking any kind of questions about this movie in terms of like what it's offering me plot-wise or universe-wise, character-wise. Like, I'm not engaged with it because it doesn't seem like there's any sort of like rules that it sets for itself. It doesn't seem like there's any sort of like expectations that I can have for it, or I don't know. It just feels like a less engaging experience.
Yeah, whereas like Shaolin Soccer, even though it is directed in that kind of exaggerated way, there is a kind of through line and a really easy to follow kind of story.
Oh yeah, much more self-aware,
that was
much
a straightforward
shorter, much
comedy
funnier.
too.
Yeah,
there was logic within that universe. I felt that.
Yeah,
and it followed like the traditional structure of like a, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing:
comedy sport movie.
There's a distinct
I don't
difference.
know what the fuck was going on in this?
There's a distinct difference between intentional comedy goofiness versus so many things that happen in Indian movies where it's like, I can't tell if this is supposed to be for laughs or if this is just completely serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just them grabbing the baby and just don't give a shit about the person's arm holding it up. It didn't seem like that was a joke. It literally just seemed like you're supposed to unironically be like, oh, the baby is important. Let's take the, like, nothing matters sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
It reminded me
what
like Kung
prevents
Pao.
me from.
It was like a scene from Kung Pao, except it was supposed to be serious.
So cute.
I'm like, oh my god.
Bye bye.
And they rolled the baby down the hill.
Yeah. Fuck, I
It
love
was like
something.
that.
Yeah, it was a movie from India, and I've tried many, many, many times, and nothing as of yet. But I have a Criterion Blu-ray of the Apu trilogy, and I would want nothing more than to love those films. So I will get to those at
just
some
mean
point.
when you find that one that connects with you, you're gonna be elated.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for. I've tried so many.
So did you feel this film was empowering? Because I didn't feel that way.
For who?
They said what
Empowering to Baahubali.
Bollywood movies can have that much female empowerment. Is that what it said? in the
I
article?
mean, it
like,
wouldn't
this movie
surprise
did
me
have
if
much
that
of
was
that.
just comparatively, you know?
I guess comparatively.
So, like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a different culture.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different culture.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's just very funny.
really difficult to evaluate and measure
Uh-huh.
from a completely detached perspective.
Oopsie.
Mhm.
I wish I had an Indian roommate that could have hopped on.
I'm sure we'll get all the Baahubali experts in the comments for this one.
Yeah. Hopefully they're not all contradicting each other or something. Hopefully we get some solid answers to this.
Yeah, give us some history.
Please do.
How do you go about rating a film like this?
2. Baahubali out of 10. That's how.
Yeah, I don't know how to evaluate it. It's like Climax for you. I don't know. 2.5 because it's like fine for what it is.
There are
Like, I like
definitely
the
moments
end.
that I do really like. Lots of imagery I
Yeah.
remember, lots of action scenes I do remember, but I do think that just watching a supercut of it on YouTube would be the way to do it, as opposed
Superior
to watching the whole
version.
film.
2 times speed.
I'm gonna watch the English one.
Or
I
yeah,
might
or
like that
Adam's
one.
2x version. I might
You're
give it a try.
When you try watching it in 2 times speed, you're going to be like, how did I ever try to watch this in 1 time speed? It's going to change your fucking life.
So you did that on Netflix?
No,
So
that's why I had to go to
actually...
the YouTube version.
Okay.
And that's a whole other
thought they
separate
were adding
conversation
that.
because, well, they were talking
Netflix
about
has
it. And then,
Netflix, you could speed up
can you?
the thing.
Like, watch
Yeah.
something in 2 times speed?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, really?
Okay, I'll try.
So they added it.
I heard that there was a conversation about them thinking that they would add it, and then a lot of directors got really butthurt because they're like complete fascists over how people watch
Oh
it.
yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
shit.
Who was it? Like
Yeah,
Joss
no,
Whedon or
no.
somebody? That was like, you're not allowed to watch things in ways that I don't watch them.
Joss Whedon.
You can't possibly have some sort of reason for wanting to watch something in another way than I do. Fuck off.
dick bag.
Yeah. You can't have more
Oh, yeah,
options. You can only have one option. I don't remember who
Yeah,
it was.
just
There was a
looked
bunch
Joss
up,
of
Whedon's a
uh,
dick bag, not you.
Oh, I didn't think.
Yeah.
And even if you did,
Yeah,
I
I
don't care.
just clarifying.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just opened Dinner for Schmucks on Netflix, and there is a playback speed slider. Doesn't go to 2 though; it only goes to 1.5.
You gotta go. You gotta go to 2. Netflix.
Okay,
You gotta
I'll go
update
to
it.
YouTube then.
Yeah, hopefully
I
on
think I
Netflix
gave
it
a
doesn't do
rating.
like a higher pitch when they do. Because I like that YouTube doesn't.
Oh,
You can watch
yeah.
it with the same pitch.
You can speed it up to 1.5.
Yeah.
You can't do 2 times speed.
How lame. Get with the times, Netflix.
I guess that's too much. That two times speed is too much.
It's not too much. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'll miss all the
Absolutely.
Is that how
details, man.
people digest media now? We should do 4 times speed.
Okay,
Just
well,
fast forward
depending
to
on the
everything.
type of content, let's say you want to like digest some sort of like political content, like you want the information, but it's not necessarily about like the artistic experience, right? Let's say it's like a documentary. I don't know. That's a good reason. Let's say it's something that you don't really like in the first place, and you just kind of want to see how it is. Say you want to be like, I want to know the gist of Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2. But I don't want to give it the respect of a 1 times speed. You should be allowed to do that. And
Yeah, it's
whoever
like a
those
trial
directors
run.
were that
Okay.
I don't remember who they are, you're fascists for content. I don't like you. People should have options, not less options.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I
Alright.
guess 2.5 star for Baahubali.
So you gave it 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I reckon.
Sure.
I like half of it a lot. Really dislike the other half of it.
Okay.
So yeah, right down the middle.
Awesome. All right. I guess it is time
That's
for.
Baahubali.
Yeah, that was Baahubali. The
Very
beginning.
bizarre. I don't know where I would rank it in the list
What
Yeah,
list?
that's gonna be difficult.
of like all the movies I've seen in for this.
Do you rank
Yeah,
all
on
the
Letterboxd.
movies in a year?
Yeah, on
I
Letterboxd
try
I
to.
have a
Oh, fuck.
like a
Seems like a
Sardonicast
chore.
list.
Yeah, this is chore. Well, it's not when you like do it every episode.
All right.
Baahubali, the beginning.
I guess it's time for some questions.
Okay, let's do some questions
Fuck
from the
yeah.
Sardonicast community. If you want to leave your own questions for us to answer in the future, head over to the subreddit suggestion thread. You can ask us whatever you feel like. The show is going to start us off. What's the most problematically dated comedy you've ever seen?
Interesting.
Hmm.
That's a good
I watched Norbit the other day.
Oh no.
Eddie Murphy dressed as like an Asian stereotype guy. And,
Nice.
Ooh, there's a lot going on in that movie if you want outdated, problematic comedy.
I got a really weird answer here. Louis C.K. released a film called I Love You, Daddy that I saw at TIFF, and then shortly after, all that drama,
The controversy,
sexual harassment, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know how to properly define what he did. Anyway, he's a pervy boy. And all that came out. And there were scenes in the movie where, like, they're just talking about, like, masturbation, like, really blatantly, like, over the phone and talking about, like, masturbating while someone's on the other end of the phone and them not knowing. And then this, like, weird, like, kind of, like, supposed to play on Woody Allen sort of thing of, like, incestuous, like, oh, no, my daughter, and, like, I'm concerned with her sex life, or, like, I don't even remember the full movie, but it was, like, really quickly after that movie that I was thinking, like, damn, that movie's changed. Like, just after after that whole thing.
I didn't even get to see I Love You, Daddy, because it came out like by the time I could see it, it was after all that shit happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you mentioned him, because I was gonna mention like Woody Allen, and like his movies are kind of dated. There's like Manhattan. I don't know if you call Manhattan a comedy, but there's a whole like subplot in that movie with like a 17-year-old. Like he's dating. It's like, oh fuck, it's just like real life, and he's a fucking piece of shit in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I once quoted on this podcast a movie he wrote, Crimes and Misdemeanors. Not a line he said. What is it? It's something about like bending is funny, but breaking isn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's a piece of shit. I don't like Woody Allen.
Okay.
I don't fucking defend him.
Do you like his movies?
Yeah. I like some of his movies. Mm-hmm. He was a decent writer. I think a lot of people like Midnight in Paris or Blue Jasmine.
Yeah, I think
I like those.
I think Crimes and Misdemeanors is a pretty good movie.
Let me think.
Just like Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski directed Rosemary's Baby, and I think that's a pretty good movie. I say a lot of people
Pianist,
would think that.
The Tenants,
The Pianist, and he's a fucking piece of shit too. He's
Repulsion.
He's
Chinatown. He's a fucking genius. It sucks that he's a rapist, a child rapist.
He's a rapist, pedophile.
He's a great director.
So fuck him. But also, he talented director in some ways.
Fuck him. Watch his movies.
That's art. It's gray.
Yeah.
It's fucking gray. It makes you feel sick.
It's a bit of a gay area.
Yeah, bit of a male gaze.
Yeah.
Call Me by Your Name.
Gaze
That's a
area.
movie with some male gaze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, here's some. No, because we're just gonna go back to like fucking Kevin Spacey answers. I'm trying to think of some like legit comedies that were just like the jokes were okay back then, but not. Man, I'm like, and I know I've seen them. And I have things in my head. I know that there's tons of like really weirdly homophobic, transphobic shit that was just like, who knows whether or not it came from like a super hateful place when it was written. But, you know, context at the time, people find either humor or fear in things that they don't understand. And so for a long time, the punchline of a joke can be something as simple as they're gay or they're trans, and that's the joke in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because most people, especially at the time, wouldn't know any gay or trans people or wouldn't know that they know any gay or trans people, sort of thing. So I don't know if I have a concrete example for that, but I know that there's a bunch of those that I've seen for sure.
Yeah, 90s comedies are good for it. Ace Ventura
90s comedies are filled with those. Oh, shit! Oh my god, there was like a line. I watched this stupid fucking movie called Hot to Trot, starring Bobcat Goldthwait, and he was like it was the worst, cringiest fucking performance ever. I hated that movie, and the whole movie, like the gimmick is like there's a talking horse and it's a racehorse and he bets on it or something. And at one point in the movie, it caught me off guard so fucking hard. They're at the racetrack, and there's the rival evil villain character, Dweeb or whatever, just like, I don't know, 20 feet away. And Bobcat Goldthwait and the horse are talking to each other, just like, yeah, he's fucking lame or whatever. And like this movie that I believe has a PG rating and had never had any like sort of explicit like profanity in it whatsoever. At that moment, the horse just mutters under his breath, "Faggot." Like, he literally just, and I was, whoa!
Oh, really?
It was the weirdest, like, he could have just said the N-word, why don't you? Like, it was just, like, so weird that it was, like, in that movie and said so casually and so, like, you know, it's just, like, a product of its time. Like, nobody gave a shit if he said faggot back in the day. By the way, anybody on YouTube, I'm gay, I'm allowed to say that. Sorry. In case you're wondering, I guess I have to say it. Don't demonetize, please.
I also thought Breakfast at Tiffany's, there's a character, Mr. Yunioshi. It's like a really, you know, it's like yellow face, I guess. It's like an Asian character. That would be dated today. Like, it's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, there's like...
I haven't seen Breakfast at Tiffany's. I just heard about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like comedies specifically.
I feel like that's a famous one.
What
Like,
about
infamous
what
one.
about White Chicks? What about the fucking Wayans
White Chicks
brothers
is fine.
in
It's
White
funny.
Chicks? But is it fine because they're white chicks and not just chicks in general? Like, I think we've exhausted the like, haha, it's funny that one person is playing another gender in a movie sort of thing. Like, that's not really something that sells tickets anymore. I don't know if I can think of an example that isn't like from the early 2000s or previous. Because that was like the whole bit was just like, we're white women.
Mm-hmm.
They should make a black
depends
chicks
how much
movie.
of an uproar there is, right? It's just like if people were that upset about white chicks, then there would have been an issue, but they weren't.
Yeah.
I
guess we got
LaQuisha,
LaQuisha
Tropic Thunder.
recently,
People weren't. LaQuisha's, yeah, that's fucking awful.
But that was not a
Tropic
movie
Thunder,
that made
people
money.
seem
though.
to be okay with that. Robert Downey Jr.
But the Robert Downey Jr. thing's so good because there's layers, you know?
Yeah.
He's not doing blackface, he's playing a character that's doing blackface. So, like, Quentin Tarantino can write himself into a movie and shout the N-word, right?
Yeah.
There's layers.
Mm-hmm. Like an onion.
Yeah! Like an ogre. Yeah, I don't know. I'm, like, pretty anti-censorship. I don't care if things are in something or offensive. Like, I'm not gonna fucking try to get Bobcat Goldthwait canceled or something, but... Yeah, sometimes it's, like, really catches you off guard. And I guess at the end of the day, the most important thing is, like, if you're going to make an offensive joke, just make sure it's funny, you know? If it's funny, it's okay. That's pretty much the rule of thumb, you know? If there's no humor in it, then it's like, what the fuck is this? Then it's just offensive and not an offensive joke.
Well, speaking of offensive things, Gordon Morgans has one. Should swearing even be considered offensive or bad anymore? I'd say 99% of people cuss normally, and even children start doing it pretty young. Should movies with swear words be rated R? Where if the swearing was simply removed, the movie could be PG-13 or even PG.
Remember the movie The King's Speech, where there was a rated R version that was released, and then they released a PG-13 version where it was like one scene was slightly altered to have less cursing. Like, I think King's Speech is a great example of like a PG-13 movie that should have been a PG-13 even with that scene, because I don't see like how that cursing in that context is offensive. I think
not.
it was like absurd. It's not. It's because he's like trying to. It's aiding his stutter. He's saying like fuck. It's So I don't understand the context of that. We've discussed before. Some movies they say fuck once or twice and it's okay if it's in a certain context. If Dwayne Johnson's saying it in like a cool context,
you get your one.
I think cursing's fine as long as it's not excessive or like at someone, degrading someone else, alienating the audience. Like I feel like that's up to the producers and like that should be worked out with the MPAA or whatever. It's
just words.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. If someone's like saying fuck like 1,000 times like at someone and it's like I don't know, I feel like there's a line maybe.
I don't see. It's so weird. I just like. I don't even think of like curse words just as like bad things. I think it's kind of just weird that we call them curse words anyway, because it's like the implication of curse is like something like magical, it's like, ooh, a curse on you, right? But that's how people treat it. They treat these words as if they're magical, when in reality it's just like, it depends on the intent and it depends on the context, right? Like I remember I was like visiting my parents once and I was like really into the new there was the Kids See Ghost album or whatever, and I just started playing it. And like, I forget which one of my parents said this, but they're like, "Can you like change it to something else?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, there are like I didn't even know there were N-words in the opening track. Like I didn't know that was there, even though I had listened to it so many times, because I don't think about like I don't treat these swear words so differently. Like obviously I don't shout the N-word at anybody, but I don't treat like swear words in of the itself as like something that ruins something or puts it in a different category, like when we're talking about art specifically, right? Like if I'm around children, my vocabulary is going to be different than if I'm around adults. I'm not going to say a lot of swear words. But if we're talking about like art, like I just feel like I am an adult. Like why would I even notice that it's there? Why would I even care that there's a swear word or 10 swear words or anything? Like it's literally just something that I don't even register. When Uncut Gems came out, and I think it like broke the record for how many F words are in a movie, I found that out after the fact. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even notice. I had no idea, because it's just like I don't treat them as like these magical, like piercing, like you're gonna get a fucking spell cast on you and go to hell or something. I don't know what other people think when they hear swear words, I guess, but it just seems wacky to me.
Yeah, like all bets are off in terms of language as soon as you get put into like a public school or whatever with other people. Like, and from that point, you're just gonna hear all kinds of crazy language. So yeah, I get it for like kids' movies. Obviously, filling them full of swear words isn't necessary, but yeah, after a certain point, it does seem arbitrary and like, okay, you get your one fuck. It's just like arbitrary at a certain point.
I don't think anything should be rated higher than PG-13 on language alone. I think any fucking 13-year-old that exists can handle the word fuck as many times as they can handle the N-word, they can handle like the F slur, whatever. Like, if it's literally just words out of context on their own, and it isn't like how to build a bomb and create crystal meth and like here's why the Jews blah blah blah. If it's not that kind of shit and it's literally just words out of context, why on earth would that be something that a 13-year-old can't handle? That's stupid.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so we can ignore the sex and violence part and just worry about the language.
Yeah,
that's
James
weird.
Bond shoots 100 people. That's fine though. I think the audience should be taken into account. Like that's my opinion.
Yeah,
Maybe a
but
Marvel film, but like, why is the rating system even considered with that? Because the Marvel films, like, they know their audience. I don't think the films would be aided by Iron Man saying "fuck" 1,000 times. Like, oh, fuck.
I don't know, man.
So they just don't put it in. They don't put any of that in. There's no cursing, and people love the movie. So I don't understand this. Like, oh, if we could get a few more fucks in there for a PG-13, that would be really cool. It just doesn't
Well,
matter.
Well, yes,
It's
ironically,
not-
a really childish way to view language.
It's really childish.
No,
sorry.
because I think that the majority of the issue is not coming from people being like, how do we make our, like, we want to make our PG-13 more explicit to sell things, and sure, that does exist. I think the majority of the issues that come from this sort of distinction are like people who have a vision for something, it is R-rated, and they're being pressured to edit or change their original vision into something that conforms towards a PG-13 rating, so that it actually makes more money. And if they have producers or a studio like breathing down their necks about it, like you should get rid of those like F words or whatever, like they get the thing back from the MPAA that says like, oh, this is an R rating. Sorry, it's like, oh, fuck. Yeah. I think that's more of the issue here.
Yeah,
I just don't think
I think
words out of context on their own should be R rated. PG-13, I understand. R rated, that's stupid.
Agreed.
Fuck. Piss. Cunt's not even offensive in Australia, and fag's
Oh,
not
yeah, to be
offensive
honest, that
in
much.
the UK.
Yeah,
So,
someone, a Sardonicast listener, left like this really long comment about that specifically. I don't know why, they were just being like pedantic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I won't read it. It's a bit much.
Okay. What was the original question? I don't even know. What-
It was, I guess, our thoughts on swearing and the ratings board. I mean, I think you covered
Yeah, I
it.
got the gist of it. The fucking MPAA is like one of the worst organizations when it comes to like ratings. There's a reason why they're
Yeah.
so much more like prudent and like archaic and like fucking ancient than so many other ratings boards for other countries. It's just because like
Yeah.
everybody should watch the documentary film called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. It gives a really, really good glimpse into like what the hell's going on with the MPAA and why they're so stupid. It's ridiculous. They're like they're not protecting children. They're just like feeding their own
No.
egos and acting as if they're like accomplishing something in the
It's
world.
this anonymous group of people. And
Yeah.
they
All their
they
children
have their
are like
list
in their
of
40s
things.
now.
They somehow decide like what's acceptable and what isn't.
Yeah.
They've allowed a lot
Stupid.
of like stupid messages to just get through in like PG-13 movies.
Yeah.
I believe they give
Completely
movies
inconsistent.
with gay people R, or
Yeah.
something like that. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
Single
they
Man
didn't
was
want
rated R in
people
the United States, PG in Canada.
just for
Fucking
I think there's a
Operation
context.
Avalanche was rated R in the United States for like no fucking reason. It's just like a couple swear words. I don't feel. Yeah. And they always
random.
always give so much less credit and credibility to like independent, smaller creators, like people who are, small directors. And if something has like the label of a studio, it's just like, oh, okay, whatever, it's PG-13. Like they're fine with that. You throw the exact same scene into some indie director's film, they're like, nope, rated R. It's so stupid.
It
They're
depends how
assholes.
much sway the studio has or the director. Scorsese's Wolf of Wall Street is a very explicit movie, and I believe, or rumor is, he worked a little with the MPAA, maybe paid him off a little to like get the R rating instead of an NC-17. And there's a lot of like nudity and like drug use and cursing in that movie. So I could believe that. I don't know. It's that's a very explicit movie, I feel.
Yeah, I don't care about nudity. I don't care about drug use. I don't care about
I
swearing.
don't give a shit about that either. I just mean in the context of that movie. It's like fucking it's a bunch of degenerates.
Yeah.
Like the worst kind of behavior. I would say that's an R movie. Not King's Speech. King's Speech is like about it's like an
King's
inspiring
Speech, that's
story.
So weird to get an R rating. Fuck
That is
off.
a weird
That's
one.
so stupid.
Yeah.
I think that there are ways to easily address, like, if anybody's making arguments in favor of, these sort of things being R-rated, a lot of these arguments boil down to, it's like, well, people should be able to, like, know what's in it. But it's like, that exists whether or not it gets the RPG-13 rating. Like, if you look at the actual classifications for each rating, it tells you why things are rated why they are. I think that it should be more of a guideline to help people understand what's in the film if they want to know what's in it, less than just restricting it. I don't like the idea of, an organization telling you what art you can and cannot watch. I like the idea of an organization saying what's in the art if people are easily triggered, if people are young and immature, or parents don't want their kids seeing whatever. They should be able to have that information to make their own decisions for it. I don't like the whole, legal restriction sort of thing, even if it's just by age.
Mm-hmm.
It's art. It's information. It's free speech. What the fuck happened, America?
Yeah, think of the children, Adam.
Think of the children.
Question?
Next question.
Thomas has a quick one. What do you think of the old trailer? You guys seen this?
So funny.
M. Night's new movie?
Hilarious.
I'm not aware of this. Please tell me what's old.
It's like a 30-second trailer that they aired for the Super Bowl. It's M. Night is making a new film based off of either a novel or a short story. I don't remember, but even his source material doesn't have that great of reviews, which is an amusing place to start from. And it's got Gael Garcia Bernal. It's got some other people who I forget at this moment. Oh, fuck. One of the Wolf brothers is in it. Either Death Note or Hereditary. I forget which one. Alex or Nate. They're interchangeable. One of them's in it.
Alex Wolff.
Alex Wolff is better.
Yeah, Alex Wolff's in it.
Yeah. Okay. The basic premise, from what I understand, is a family goes to a beach and they start aging very rapidly. So, and that's the horror element. Is they're just like they're like, what's happening? My 2-year-old is now 22. So this is like M. Night Synecdoche, New York, basically. So I'm really excited. I'm hyped.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be just as deep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It's going to be
Do
hilarious.
people actually watch the Super Bowl just for the trailers?
Or the commercials? Yeah.
Yeah, the commercials.
The commercials are a big highlight. Lots of people.
Yeah.
and the halftime
Really?
show.
They're on YouTube.
So I always wake
after,
up
I
in the
guess.
morning after it's happened, and I look up
because
an
lots of
article
people
that
are
collects
watching the
them all.
Super Bowl anyway. It's usually a big viewing party.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
great
yeah, old
ad
looks
space.
old. I don't know.
It's a dumb title. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
old.
bad title.
I cannot wait.
I don't think it's as bad as. It's not a movie we're talking about this episode, but Sia's movie
Music.
I just think
Yeah.
that's such a bad title.
It's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a bad title. M. Night's movies don't have good titles. I'd say The Happening is not a good title. The Happening After Earth.
I mean, yeah, they're not good titles and not good movies, most of them.
Yeah. Or at least they're accurate in that way. You're like, oh, I know what I'm getting into.
When's it coming out? Fuck. I just want everything to be like digital, same day,
I know. 23rd of July, 2021.
Yeah. We'll see if I want to. We'll see what the numbers of COVID are like if I want to leave the house for the first time in a year and a half.
But old, yeah.
All right, I'm
There
hyped.
another question?
Folk Jose Titties has one. You guys want to go into this? If given the chance, an unlimited budget and full creative freedom, who do you think would direct the better movie out of these three? Number 1, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Number 2, Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Number 3, President Joe Biden.
I mean, I don't even like Justin Trudeau, but he used to be like a drama teacher, and that's where my answer would come from. He's the youngest, he's the most in touch. He's a dumb idiot. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he seems to be the most artistic. He's got plenty of background in costume design, all his blackface, like he could do quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
a makeup pro. He the blackface extended to like his hands. I don't know if you noticed that. Like he's committed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like he could do a really good art piece, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely not Boris. No one wants to see Boris's feature, but okay, put it the other way around then. Who would you least want to see out of those three for a project like this?
I mean, the first question wasn't the most want to see, right? Because that would be a different answer for me then. I thought it was who would make the best movie. Because I think right. I would most want to see one of the other two then, because I love cringe, and I want to know what Boris and Biden would make. I want to know what they would do. Who do you think would direct
the worst movie then?
The worst movie? Boris seems like more of a buffoon. Biden, it's so difficult to tell how much of it is just like his age right now. Like Biden would probably direct really like.
Yeah.
It would be like Wonder Woman 84, like some kind of.
Boris, I could see him directing something like weirdly good, so good, bad director style. Like I could see him directing like something between like Fateful Findings and Love on a Leash, you know, like somewhere in between those two movies. I feel like he's like diluted enough. I feel like he's wacky enough and has like enough of a sense of like overinflated self-confidence sort of thing that I think he could make something really fun.
Mm-hmm. I could actually imagine him doing a Norbit style where like he plays everyone in the movie.
Okay. That would be awesome.
He's a bit of a character, yeah. Boris, you know.
I don't know. I don't think any of them would make good directors. Say Justin Trudeau for his blatant racism.
Yeah, he would Justin Trudeau could make something the most competently, but I probably enjoy the movie the least.
Right. Yeah.
It would be really
I would totally want to see a Boris movie.
Pretentious.
And not Boris. like when I say a movie, I don't want to see some fucking propaganda from them. I want to see like the deepest parts of their souls. I want to see something like, what do they love? What do they fear? Where does their imagination go when they have like unlimited resources? What kind of universe would they like to express that came out of their soul? You know, I think Boris would be the most interesting. All right, last question.
Let's end on this one then for Ralph from Peach TR33. Hi Ralph, do you still think Walking Dead season 2 is better than season 1?
Oh, good question. I rewatched season 1. I actually do think season 2 is just fine. I actually like season 2. I like them about the same.
You gotta remind me, season 1's like the short season.
Yeah, season 1 basically wraps up when they leave the facility, they blow it up. And then season 2 starts, they're on the highway, right? They get lost and they get lost for a little, then they go to the farm. Then like then like a character dies. There was like a major death. I thought that scene was very powerful. It was like I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen it. There's like a scene in a barn.
Yeah, like, it's a classic scene from like the comic,
it's a classic scene. I thought that was really great. And there was a lot of like character wrap up and characters that were interesting, like Shane and I'm aware, Adam, you don't think it's a great season.
I think it's awful. I think it's the worst one. Well, actually, I haven't seen. I think I tapped out.
Yeah,
somewhere in the first few episodes of season 4.
It's very like
but
pulp. It's like campy and like light viewing. Definitely seems like stretched out.
It's super stretched out. Season 1 was like a 1-to-1 ratio between the issues of the comics and the episodes of the TV show, and then season 2 was like, let's try to double it with less budget.
But I don't know. It's such like a standard television thing for that to, like, most television shows aren't even planned out at all. Or they've certainly gotten better, but Walking Dead at that time coming out, like, it was the most popular cable show. It had this continuing story, even if it was so slow paced. It's because AMC wanted to make money. But
yeah,
I think people stuck with it.
They completely fucked it.
I think people didn't care. Like they just. I
agree with you.
Anyway.
People didn't care. I completely agree.
So that's why they did it.
They were right. That's the worst part about it. Like fucking completely screw over Frank Darabont. Completely fucking gut the show. Make it for like literally they had notes that they gave to the producers. They're like, can we save money on makeup? Like, can people can people just hear the zombies instead of seeing them? Like, that's the shit that they were suggesting. And there were so many people working like well below their pay grade that were only there because they were friends with Frank Darabont, who they fired like 3 days after he fucking was promoting the show at Comic-Con, right? And they knew 2 weeks before. They treated him like shit. He tried to sue them over it, and it didn't work because they're a gigantic corporation, and, you know, he obviously signed a contract, which in essence gave up his rights. The people that defended Frank Darabont on the show wound up getting axed in ways that were completely inconsistent with the comic book. So, like, what was it? What was the old man's name? Dale or something? He was like,
Yes,
yeah, I
Dale.
gotta stand up for my
I like
fucking
that
friend. Like,
character.
the dude was in The Mist
spoiled
too.
out.
Like, he's
Yeah.
like, all of them were friends with Frank Darabont, and then the people that stood up and were actually like, yeah, this is fucking wrong, they just like killed them from the show early in ways that like they weren't
Wait, that's
supposed
the
to
reason
according
they
to the
killed them?
comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's
fucked
awful.
up.
Yeah, they were like, okay, and then he regretted it after. He should have just stayed with it because everybody else got like long-lasting, promising careers from it, like Stephen Yeun, you know, etc. But like, fuck, it's not just that I'm angry about like what they did to the show. I think that it is objective. Well, not objective. What they did to the show, I think, from my experience, is very, very clearly something that harmed it in terms of what they were able to put out. I feel like if Frank stayed on and he had the budget that he wanted, I feel like season 2 would have been much better. It literally just turned into a soap opera with zombies. Like, the zombies were
There's a lot of
barely there.
melodrama, yeah.
It was so annoying and so slow and so
The
stretched
cast
out.
is really good, though. I think the cast is like they introduced a lot of people.
The
Herschel.
drama
and
was so
Maggie
fake.
You didn't like the zombie in the well?
That was
Well, yeah,
fucking
that's what I
awful.
was gonna
And when
say.
you, especially when you think about the fact that if that scene wasn't there, there would literally be no zombies in that entire episode. That's why they put that scene in there, because otherwise they were
Well, yeah.
they're literally
every
like, oh, the
episode
zombie
they need
show.
to throw one scene in.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah,
have
it's
a
a
zombie in this
formula.
episode.
Yeah.
There's a zombie in the well. Let's have this fucking like slapsticky Three Stooges attempt at like Stephen Yeun's character trying to like be roped down into the well, like as if that the whole plan's so stupid because they're like, we have to kill the zombie because it's going to infect the water. Like, he's been fucking living in the well. Like, it's already zombie soup. What are you planning on doing? Like, they're trying to like drag it out. Like, we're gonna like carry it by its neck as if the water isn't infected beforehand. Like, and they're risking their lives
irritates
doing
me
this at
so
the same
much.
time. It's so stupid and forced, and I hate it. I hate it so much, and I'm mad.
Yeah,
I don't
they
like it.
stretched it out. You're
Yeah,
right
it's
about
really,
that.
really
That's just
fucking
like a standard American television thing.
Yeah,
for
but
me.
you
Like, I
can't
don't
just
even- I'm not even
excuse
bothered
everything
by
away
it.
by saying
I-
that. Like, it's American
I'm not even
television.
bothered by it though. For me, it's just average. It just becomes average. I'm like, yeah, it's still got a
thought it
strong
was
cast.
bad.
It still has a lot of other things.
I thought
They
season one
switch,
wasn't like great. I thought season one was like average.
Season
and
one
fun,
is like
you know?
super short. I like season one a lot
Yeah.
though. They switch out showrunners a lot with Walking Dead. I believe like if it's not every season, it's like
I
every
know.
other season they switch out the showrunner.
Yeah.
Season 3 I believe has a different one. Season 4 is a different one. Like and the
it
show
shows
like
too.
changes. So I will say like at least the Frank Darabont thing, it's not like they just got rid of him. They seem to like alternate consistently. I don't know why that is. If it's like a creative decision, it might be a financial decision, but like you said,
was
Adam,
a
it seems like a
financial
lot of decisions they make are about maximizing profits.
Yeah,
like,
it's so sad. So sad because
yeah,
they
I
own
mean,
the show
fact
completely.
that the show is still going, like a lot of the main cast is just not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're doing other things. Good for them.
Is
like
this
you said,
the
Stephen
final
Yeun's
season
doing
now?
great
Like, what are they
Korean
doing?
movies. I don't know what
season
they're
11 or
doing, but I know
something?
Rick is not even
Season
there.
11,
Yeah.
And it's it's about these other characters who they've set up, and my brother watches it, so he's constantly telling me like they introduce characters, and there's like basically every kind of demographic of fucking person that could watch the show. There's like a character for them, like, and it's funny. It's just funny. Like you see the programming and the marketing, and I don't know if I would. It's not for me. It's not something I would watch because it puts that in front of like telling a story. I don't know how accurate it is to the comics anymore, even.
I did like the comics, but like the show did waffle so much and just kept changing things, and
It got really
I don't know.
goofy at the end.
Yeah, and 11 seasons. I mean, do you know anyone that stuck through it the whole time? I got it to, I
My
got to like
brother,
5 or 4.
I got to 3 or 4, like around there.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like the new Simpsons, it's like, when you find someone that actually watches it, it's like, holy shit, this is like the white whale or whatever that expression is. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I've been searching for you all my life. Like, I wanted to know who was still watching the show.
Yeah. Maybe I should. I should just watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I was actually
It's
thinking
really
of
slow.
going through them again and like, I don't know, maybe doing some commentary stuff on it. It would have
I
to be
feel
like
attention
a solo
spans
thing,
are
I don't know.
different now. Like with binge watching and all these new shows out, like Mandalorian. Like people expect a bit of a faster paced kind of television show. Walking Dead it's very cable TV. Like it's week to week, slow, like character driven. I don't even know if people would like respond to it in the same way if it came out today. So I think it's like an interesting historical artifact. Even season 2.
Yeah,
Like,
they
even though so,
really have,
like mediocre.
you
in that
know,
way.
there's a lot that they owe Frank Darabont.
They do.
You
yeah.
know, it's the most successful show on their fucking network. He took
It
the
made their
risks.
network,
He got people
basically.
to work under their pay grade for him. He, you know, got the whole thing together. You're fucking welcome, assholes. I hate them so much. Yeah, not the same company as AMC Theaters, by the way. If anybody's curious, 2 separate companies.
Uh-huh. They're both assholes in their own way.
Yeah. Watch my review. I reviewed it. I explained the whole drama behind the fucking scenes.
Yeah.
All right, I guess.
Yeah. It was your review's very interesting. Yeah. I learned a lot
Yeah.
about the behind the scenes from that.
Thank you.
This is just my opinion that season 2 is actually pretty like entertaining.
Yeah.
If
That's
you're just watching it without that context, yeah.
Mhm.
Without any of that.
All right, I guess that about does it for questions.
Awesome.
And I guess it's time to recommend a film, and I guess it's my turn. Much like Alex, I'm recommending something I haven't seen before, but I think
Part two.
that this one might turn out a bit better. I'm recommending Taste of Cherry by Abbas Kiarostami, Iranian director. I think it was the first Iranian film to win the Palme d'Or. I don't know if
Oh, cool.
either of you have seen any of his other films. There's quite a variety of different things that he's done. Very, very experimental director, although I have no idea if this film is going to be in that range, because some of his films are a bit more straightforward. What makes this movie particularly intriguing to me is that everybody seems to love it except Roger Ebert, who like absolutely fucking hated it.
Oh, weird.
I'm just gonna see what he gave this.
Oh,
One
yeah,
star.
Excruciatingly boring.
1 star. I thought he actually gave it 0 stars. I thought it was like one of those like exception to the rule things. But yeah, he honestly fucking hates it, and nobody can figure out why. And I am intrigued by that, and am looking forward to seeing it. Fantastic director. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled for Taste of Cherry, 1997, watch it before the next episode of the podcast comes out. These episodes come out every 2 weeks. You can listen to the podcast early as these episodes are edited, going to Sardonicast.com, signing up for premium, $2 a month. Also, patreon.com/Sardonicast. Also, we got merch. Why don't you buy some merch? Have a happy Baahubali. And
Baahubali.
a good beginning.
I love that. Baahubali, the beginning.
Did you
It's just
like
the
so satisfying.
alliteration?
It was like the
and
title
bees make
that
it funny.
really drew you towards that, right? It was just being able to say
Yeah.
It was mostly
Baahubali.
the title.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought.
yeah.
It's
I
so
actually didn't
funny.
even
They're all
know that the
chanting his
fucking
name.
poster was a baby until today. I thought it was like a whale. I never like looked at a zoomed in version or anything.
Oh.
Oh, he's like dark. It's like an outline. I was like, I don't know. I just thought it was like a
Yeah,
regular.
I can see
I
that.
thought it was like fucking
That is funny.
Free Willy. I don't know. All right. Thanks for listening to everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Baahubali.